Welcome to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam.
Perfect. Yeah.
Amazing. Up next, we have a tale about funding Ethereum aligned ecosystems. Take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. I'm Nico Gallardo, currently doing community at Octant. And yeah, I'm going to talk about funding Ethereum aligned ecosystems. First, I want to tell you a little bit of a story of like how we came to this idea from personal or like self-project experience. So Octant V1 started by having a Golem Foundation, that's kind of like the foundation behind the Octant project, stake 100,000 ETH. And the yield generated from these 100,000 ETH was divided in three. Part went to reward GLM lockers. Those are that's GLM, the Golem token. Matching fund for different projects, public goods, and the last part that went to fund our operations and growth. So I'll visualize this a little bit better and more simply so that it's more clear. So the Golem Foundation staked this 100,000 ETH, and the GLM lockers, those are our Octant users, let's say, they could either withdraw the staking rewards that were generated to their personal wallets, or they could use these rewards to fund existing projects, like the public goods projects that we pre-selected, or the community pre-selected. And the way this funding works is with quadratic funding. So who here is familiar with quadratic funding? Okay, a few people, maybe like to give a TLDR of what quadratic funding is. The projects that receive donations from the largest amount of people receive a larger amount of funds from the matching pool. So let's say a project receives $101 donations, and another project receives $100 donation by a single person, and we have a matching pool of, let's say, $10,000. The project that received the donations that act as a vote from 100 people will receive a way larger chunk of this matching pool. So this is the same how Octant works, except the donations are generated through the staking of the GLM token, through staking of Ethereum and the locking of GLM token. So throughout 2 years, we funded 8 epochs. That's how we call our funding rounds. And we've had between 20 and 30 projects every epoch, except Epoch 0 that had 10 projects. And in total, we had 86 unique projects. Actually, Protocol Guild, I don't know if Chick is still here, but is one of the bigger recipients of funding from Octant, but also we will see in a bit a lot of other Ethereum relevant projects. And yeah, so in total, we funded more than $8 million on Ethereum. That's around 2,600, well, exactly 2,638 ETH, and almost 1,000 ETH has gone directly to rewards for users. And yeah, I was mentioning some of the projects that we've been funding in the past. These are our usual suspects, let's say, that always show up in our funding rounds. You will see that most of them are very Ethereum relevant. So we have Protocol Guild, we have Ethereum Cat Herders, HyperCerts, L2Beat, probably a bunch of these you know, Revoke Cash, Rotkey, Funding the Commons, ETH Staker, and Tor Project. That's maybe like the one that's not directly linked to Ethereum, but these projects have been participating pretty much in almost all the rounds that we've been running, and received quite a lot of funding. So thanks to all that, we are making Ethereum more sustainable, which, as Cheeky mentioned in the previous presentation, is super important, especially how the things are going right now is very important to focus on this. But thinking a little bit beyond that, we asked ourselves, like, how can we enable other Ethereum-aligned ecosystems to grow? And by enabling this growth, how can we also find some sort of support for the kind of like base layer for Ethereum itself? And we saw in the ecosystem a couple of things that could help us reach to this conclusion, and also kind of like observing what happened with Golem and with Octant, and how we came to this funding model. So there's really a lot of funds sitting idle in a bunch of treasuries in the ecosystem. You can check like DeFi Llama to see what the treasuries, like how big these treasuries are that are really just sitting there. And mostly these projects fund their grants and fund the growth of their ecosystem by bleeding this treasury, just like giving out grants that most of the time are quite inefficient. And because of that, the growth kind of stalls and the funding stays unsustainable because they just keep bleeding the treasury. On the other hand, we have a wide variety of allocation mechanisms and DeFi tools and strategies that can be used. And a lot of these projects also kind of like wave the flag of Ethereum alignment, despite not, well, it's hard to define what Ethereum alignment is, but there are some projects that are definitely more aligned with Ethereum than others, and some are waving the flag more frequently than the others, despite not deserving it. So what we wanted to unlock with the new version of Octant was to put these project funds to work for their ecosystems without exhausting their treasuries, the same way as Golem Foundation was funding all these projects without exhausting their own treasury. And we want to do this by leveraging yield-generating strategies to fund grants programs and growth for these ecosystems. All these while empowering the communities, maybe through a token that the project has, and mainly with different allocation strategies that are very community-centric. But this, should be decided by the projects themselves how they want to do that. And we can, with this mechanism, we can also help projects demonstrate Ethereum alignment by funding what we call the Ethereum Sustainability Fund. So at least 5% of the yield that's generated with Octant V2 could go to this Ethereum Sustainability Fund that will continue the work that has been done by Octant in the past. So we came up with this idea of protocolizing what we did at Octant V1 and turn it into a sort of ecosystem growth engine, primarily for Ethereum ecosystems or Ethereum aligned ecosystems. And the value flow is quite straightforward, I would say. The stake tokens generate yield, meaning like the tokens of the projects. But these can also, honestly, can also be stable coins or ETH or any other currency. And once the tokens are staked, this token holder can allocate the yield that's generated from the strategies that we deploy these tokens to. And once these tokens are allocated to different projects that create value for the ecosystem, that should increase the value of the ecosystem as a whole, and thus hopefully is represented in the token value, which at the same time generates more yield and creates this positive feedback loop that grows and makes ecosystems stronger. And all this, as I mentioned, while finding Ethereum alignment through the Ethereum Sustainability Fund, which is, as I mentioned, like at least 5% of the yield generated contributed to Ethereum, what we're calling Ethereum goods. Like there is this big debate between, okay, what can we call public goods? Should we call it network goods? We're leaning more towards, okay, like let's focus on things that are beneficial for Ethereum right now. And the governance of how these funds are allocated are going to be proportional to the contribution to the Ethereum Sustainability Fund. So in a nutshell, what Octant V2 is trying to accomplish is connecting capital accumulation and capital formation, capital allocation mechanisms together. We already have so many DeFi strategies and protocols, and we already have so many allocation mechanisms like quadratic funding, conviction voting, streaming quadratic funding, and just putting them together to fund ecosystems and Ethereum at the same time, while empowering the community through tokens or through these mechanisms. And that's pretty much how we achieve sustainable growth, capital formation, and capital allocation together. And thanks to that, we can sprinkle a little bit of Ethereum alignment with it. So if you are a project that would like to use Octant to fund your ecosystem without bleeding your treasury and also actually signal Ethereum alignment, please reach out. But we're also looking for regens who want to help us allocate funds and develop these allocation mechanisms, or degens who know how to build profitable DeFi strategies that the ecosystems can use. Please do reach out. Devs in general who want to build on top of what's going to be the Octant protocol are also more than welcome. And we have this little kind of trading cards that should explain in a more fun way what Octant V2 is doing. So if you want one of these packs, I don't have that many left, please come to me, talk to me. Would love to hear your feedback and ideas. I believe a lot of us here are really big believers of Ethereum, so would love to see if you agree or disagree, or like have any other input on what we're building at Octant. Thank you, and we'll love to hear some questions from you.
Are there any questions for Nico? Who's using Octant at the moment?
So we have kind of like two sides. We have the projects that receive the funding, and we have the our users that are the GLM lockers. The projects, there are like 86 different projects that have been using Octant so far. Like as I mentioned, like from Protocol Guild to last round, we did kind of like a bit of a one-off that we funded climate-related projects, like 20 different climate-related projects that were quite impactful, and we're super happy with the funding. And the lockers of GLM, so for a bit of context, Golem was an ICO project from 2017, like one of the first ones. That's where all the Ethereum that they have comes from. And basically a lot of these people are still part of the community, but also a lot of newcomers that are really big believers in funding public goods that are locking their tokens and voting for the projects that deserve the funds.
Nice. Are there any other questions? No. Thank you, Nico. Really
Thank you.